This is David Lindsay from Phenom Leap Education. Why did the chicken cross the road? Life is a fascinating and complex adventure filled with opportunities and saboteurs. So how does a highly educated, free-willed individual navigate this roughly 80-year puzzle before we get the tap on the shoulder? First, let's not be so pedantic and quibble about the free will argument, otherwise we'll never get off the ground. I'm just making a goodwill assumption that we all have free will. That is, the ability to act at our own discretion, in between our first and our last breath. There are so many experiences that we would have encountered for the first time. Perhaps you don't remember your first step, or perhaps you don't remember your first word, but seeing another child's first step or first words may have inspired you with a sense of awe that you were once like that child. As our brain develops at an incredible rate, we learn about ourselves, the closest to us, society, and the world. We are learning schemata of life. What is so fascinating about this? How about the chance of you born is 1 in 400 trillion? And that your brain will have developed to about 90% of its adult size by the age of 5. No? Have you ever wondered what you know about the world is truth? Or how do we even construct the world that we live in? According to choice theory, psychiatrist Dr. William Glasser explained that we collect information about the real world from the stimuli captured by our sensory system, such as the eyes, nose, ear, mouth, hand, and everything else. This stimuli then passes on to our perceptual system or knowledge filter. This makes decisions about that information. To keep it simple, the knowledge filter will discard the information if it's not meaningful to our current or short-term situation. If it has some usefulness but is unsure of the degree, a closer examination will be beneficial. However, if the information is useful, then it will move along the evaluating system to determine whether it is positively, negatively, or neutrally meaningful to us at this time. Therefore, it is important to note that the same stimuli can have different value depending on our current situation. As we spend more time being acquainted with the world around us, the amount of stimuli that we have to filter becomes extremely complex, not only in magnitude, but also in variance and dissension. The more people we meet, our understanding of common traits deepens. But so do the conflicting ideas and information about people and the world in general. The possibilities for problems, adversities, struggles, excitement, opportunities, and choices increases exponentially and specifically for each individual that we meet throughout life. This makes life a complex adventure, filled with opportunities to learn, discover, and experience. So what happens when the world expects too much of us? I mean, when all the gurus are telling us to get up at 4 a.m, to hustle, to grind, put in your blood, sweat, and tears if you want to make it in life, and we get to a point where we feel overwhelmed. Not because we're not trying our best. We have jobs, families, roofs over our heads, and food on the table. But our best efforts can never seem to meet those Guru Dean expectations. And yes, I did just make that up, because it's the Herculean effort that we have to put in to follow what these gurus say. Why do we label ourselves as failures? Did you define what make it in life actually meant to you? If you've made it, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What does it mean to you? I want to take a moment to interrupt this with a reminder. There are different versions of this going around, but essentially, they all highlight the same point. When we compare the raw footage that is our life to someone else's director's cut or their sizzle reel, we become criminals capable of committing the most heinous crimes to ourselves that only our minds can justify. We allow plundering and pillaging of joy and gratitude from our lives. We kill our own dreams and cause emotional genocide to the people closest to us. We reduce ourselves to building and living inside flimsy chicken wire coops and closing ourselves off from excessive external stimuli, from pressures or complexities. From this enclosure, we become disillusioned by its protectiveness from the external world. The cacophony of good and bad ideas, advices and nudges liberally applied to coax us away from our sacred geometry. We are not aware of the potential dangers posed by the rapidly rusting and corroded wires to our lives. That the foxes and raccoons of the world can still get in. They can still chase us around and play for keeps. We reveled in having the power of choice to leave this comfortable space if we wanted to. However, our ego often sacrifices this option while fueling our reactivity to these external stimuli. At some point, a spark will cause ignition in our biases to blow our self-confidence and dreams to smithereens. These wise chickens would have realized that the integrity of these wires are vulnerable to attacks and decay. They could have been broken at any time, and the cage never protected them from the elements or anything else in the first place. So they left and set out on an adventure, and eventually they crossed the road. In every iteration of why the chicken crossed the road, how many of them were harmed on their journey? Now imagine yourself at the end of your road. Would it have been worth if you had have defined your own success, challenged your gurus and left the cage for a road crossing adventure? Or stayed cooped up, hoping to be on the dinner table? The choice is yours. Stay cooped up in that flimsy chicken wire fence, or go out on the adventure of a lifetime and cross that road and take everything in your stride. This is David Lindsay from Phenom Leap Education. Discover your possibilities.